Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland, and today, man, I've got a good buddy. We go back a long time, Chuck Downs. How you doing?
What's up, Gilly? Doing great, brother.
Awesome.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you. You're down in beautiful Key Biscayne, Florida, in a beautiful area. I wish we could just show our listeners your view because it's amazing of the ocean, but maybe we'll talk about that later. But, man, we go back, probably till about 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. I've known each other for a long time, so I've been excited today. Know we're going to get to spend some time together. So, like all of our shows, we always start with what made you the man you are today, man. I know you've got an amazing story. So, but what do you think made you Chuck Downs?
Man, a lot of things, Brett. I mean, one, I was very, very, very blessed with an amazing family. I mean, my father, my mother, my grandfather, my grandmother. I grew up in the Bible Belt, born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi, and just, an amazing community of people there. People that, when you say that you're going to do something, you shake a man's hand or shake a woman's hand, that was the deal. And so the foundational piece of me being brought up in a very trusting and honest and just, a community with amazing people that were honest and I would say that was the foundational piece of it. My grandfather was my hero. I mean, this guy he was a pastor of a small country church. He was a farmer, and he's the one that taught me how to hunt and fish and just growing up in a great part of the world, I think, around really, really amazing people.
And then we're in a career and you're surrounded by other great people. And then I think, my dad always said it, but who you surround yourself with and the books you read make you a better person, right? I think you and I both have been blessed to be around great people, certainly around great speakers and great books and all those things. And I think the more we feed that positive mind and surround ourselves with those great people, the better life becomes, right?
We become what we think about. And so whenever you look at the people that, like you said, like we spent a lot of years around, some really amazing people that were just built for continual improvement. So the books, the tapes, the podcasts, the CDs, the workshops, the seminars, all of it. I mean, it just all culminates and creates, who we are today.
The travel groups.
Travel groups.
So Chuck and I were part of what we called a study group where about, 5 of us, we would get together at places all over really the country and even the world. And we would get together and we'd go over our business plans. We'd challenge the daylights out of each other. And we jokingly started to call it a travel club because we started going on amazing places. But so no matter what industry you're in, I think it's key if you can go out and find those people that you can meet up with at nice destinations, share your entire business plan, the good, the bad, the ugly, your financials, your personal dreams, your family dreams. I mean, all those things I think are critically important to share with people. And then you get great feedback from people like Chuck. And I think it expands our horizons and it expands our vision. So thoughts about that, Chuck, when I say all that?
Yeah, I joined my first study group, I think, probably in 1994. And, you look at the people that were in that study group and it's a group of people, Napoleon Hill said it in Think and Grow Rich, that you've got to have a mastermind and people that have similar goals, similar dreams, similar desires that are always pushing each other to improve and grow. And whenever you surround yourself with people that are always wanting to grow and get better, then you have to grow and get better. Yeah. And everyone's going to go through challenging times. And so to be able to have people that care about you, support you, to fall back on, and know who you are and know what you stand for, and their ability to be there to catch you sometimes when you fall is important as well.
That's right. So let's talk about the habits and rituals you're seeing. You're working with people all over the country and all different types of industries. But what are you seeing either for them, but then also for yourself that's helped you in your career that you can help our listeners with? The habits and rituals, no miss items throughout the day to just go out and conquer your day.
My deal is really 3 rituals. And as I share with my friends, with my clients, with myself, the 3 rituals, I think the most important one is what I call the power hour. And that is a weekly ritual of planning the week. And it consists of 5 steps. And the first step would be to connect. And what we're doing is we're connecting with our vision. we've already said it. Both of us have said it. We become what we think about.
That's right.
And if you think about, everyone that we know wants more of something in life. Whether it's more money, more success, more happiness, more fulfillment, more meaningful relationships, more time, whatever it is. And everyone that wants more of something also wants less of something. We want less stress, less worry, less procrastination, less complications, less BS in our life. And so how do we do it? Well, if we become what we think about, then we have to increase our percentage of thoughts on what we want, and we have to decrease our percentage of thoughts on what we don't want. And so what do we need to think about throughout the day? And that is our vision. And so by having a powerful, inspirational vision and the ability to connect to that on a weekly basis is very, very, very important in my opinion. And I think you would agree with that. And so step one of that power hour is to connect to our vision. And by doing that, what we're doing is we're practicing what's called self-directed neuroplasticity. And what that is that's the discovery that we can rewire old neural pathways and wire new neural pathways based upon the quality of the thoughts that we think. And so if we're thinking on a weekly basis about our vision, then we're becoming and we're attracting in our life, and we're turning on the reticular activation system in our brain so that we're seeing opportunities that are consistent with that vision. So step one in the power hour, connect to the vision. Step two is to reflect upon the wins, the losses, the lessons from the previous week. And whenever we reflect upon those lessons, or rather whenever we reflect on the losses, we can turn those losses into lessons.
And would you also agree, sorry to interrupt, but if it's a failure only when you don't learn from it, right? And I think to your point right there, if I can learn from that failure this week, I can turn that into a positive and then focus my energy on it being positive versus negative.
100%. 100%. And that's why the reflection, the journaling is so important, is because it allows us to identify those losses, reflect upon them, and turn them into lessons. Yep. Step three to the power hour would be to categorize. So categorize everything you want to do, have to do, should do, must do, and categorize it based upon your life priorities. So most of us have arguably 6 life priorities. We've got our spiritual, we've got our health, we've got our family and friends, we've got our career, our purpose, we've got our finances, our organized life, and we've got our community, or our charity, or our giving back to the world. And so whenever we categorize all of the actions that we need to do for the week based upon the life priority, it's a much more effective way to go through life and know exactly what you've got to do. I think all of us have at some point been at home thinking about work, or we're at work, we're thinking about family. And so by prioritizing, or rather by categorizing our actions based upon the life priority, it's a much more simple way to turn everything off except that particular area of our life. Step 4 to the power hour then is to prioritize. So you're going to prioritize each of those action items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, for each life priority. And then step 5 is to schedule time on your calendar for each life priority. So if I've blocked off time for career, then I'm in that career time. The only thing I need to do at that point is I need to dial in and work that prioritized daily task list, or that prioritized task list. Once I'm finished with that aspect of my life, I'm going home. Well, then I flip the switch and go right back into, hey, here's my family. So I review what's the prioritized list for family that week. And then just follow it along. So that is the first ritual that I follow, is the power hour with those 5 steps: connect, reflect, categorize, prioritize, schedule the life priorities onto our calendar. Second ritual.
Can I interrupt real quick there, Chuck? So, and you call that the power hour. So you're doing that once a week, you're saying, right? And so, because I'd like to have a discussion about that. So I call it power 90. It's 90 minutes a day, and it may have some of these exact same things, but I have found that when I focus my morning and do the things that I need to do that are important to me, right, I'm going to win the day.
Yep.
And I think it's the daily habit of that. So I think you can combine the two, whether it's a power 90 and the power hour. So we're both talking about power here, but why weekly versus daily versus monthly? What's your philosophy on that?
The idea of planning the week out whether it's a Saturday or Sunday morning, a Friday afternoon, a Sunday afternoon. I don't think the day of the week really matters, but
Right.
but for me, I can plan it out, and I can do it in about an hour, maybe a little bit longer than that. And then what I do, and have a ritual called what I refer to as 10 minutes that matter. That's the end of the day shutdown, to where I review what I accomplished today, reflect on the day, and then put the priorities from my weekly list onto tomorrow, and then prepare for that day. And again, it's I call that 10 minutes that matter. I mean, you're doing it for 90 minutes a day. That's awesome, and I'm sure you're doing the visualization with that as well. So I think we're doing the same thing. We're just calling it different.
Right.
Mine might rhyme a little bit better. Power hour versus power 90.
That's right. 90-minute focus. I like it. So you were going to go somewhere else with that. So you said the second thing is what?
Yeah, the second ritual, it's what we would commonly refer to as the AM ritual. I call it the about me ritual. And we've all heard people talk about how, on a plane, whenever they tell you in the event of an emergency, you put the mask on yourself first, right?
That's right.
Well, that about me ritual, first thing in the morning, I think that for me, it's the most important ritual, and it's just really setting the tone for the day. And so mine, I get up at four. Well, the alarm goes off at 4:49. I do some breath work before my feet hit the floor. Feet hit the floor, do my thing for a couple of minutes, and then I'm on the mat by 5 o'clock. And at 5 o'clock, then do a little more breath work. Do 30 minutes of meditation, 30 minutes of yoga, a few minutes of gratitude. Review the vision for the day, and then off the mat, and then it's typically a workout after that.
Okay.
So that's the about me ritual I share with people. Listen, it doesn't matter if it's an hour, it doesn't matter if it's 30 minutes. The important thing is to have a time first thing in the morning before you do anything else, so that you can really set the course and really become the pharmacist for yourself. Because the way most people live, you think about it, we wake up and what are we thinking? Well, maybe we wake up, a lot of people are hitting the snooze. Then by the time they do get up, now they're under stress. And so their bodies and their brains releasing the norepinephrine and the cortisol and the adrenaline. And so they're starting their day in a stressful environment. And then that just continues throughout the day. Whereas if we just get up a few minutes early, 5-10 minutes early, and we practice a little bit of gratitude, practice a little bit of just visualizing what we want our life to look like, now we're releasing the dopamine, the oxytocin, the serotonin, and the endorphins. And so we're starting our day in a completely different environment, being our own pharmacist for our brain and for our body, and everything changes. I mean, we're just better able to serve the world, serve our family, serve our clients, serve our friends when we start off in that manner. So the three rituals, the power hour, the AM ritual, and then the 10 minutes that matter that we reviewed.
And the 10 minutes that matter, is that what you said?
Yeah, 10 minutes that matter. Yeah, just reviewing the day, reflecting upon the day, looking at what's most important tomorrow, and again, the kind of the foundation of that is the from the power hour, the plan that we use or the plan that we created from the power hour.
Got it. And don't you find too? I mean, you say it like it's easy, right? 4:49, the alarm goes off, and you kind of just stretch a little bit, and you're up and you're at 'em. And 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't have bought that, right? That it would be that easy. I think, though, when you start to tie your morning into the rest of your life and your day, I am not a morning person. I like to sleep, but I love to stay up late. But I'm finding this summer was my test, and with no crazy schedules with the 4 kids and get ready for school and all that, I've been testing it all summer, and it's been phenomenal. And I want more, and I want more, and I want more. And therefore, it's been easier to get up. The other thing is I have 2 major goals in my life. Is one, obviously there's a lot of goals I have in my life, but just from a standpoint of the experiences and the lifestyle that I want to create for kids and grandkids and all that stuff, is I want to have a home in Watercolor, my favorite place on 30A in Florida. And I want to have a home there. So I named my alarm Watercolor. So when my alarm goes off on my cell phone, I look it right in the eye and it says Watercolor, right? And I have to either choose to turn off my goal and hit snooze, or I got to choose to get up.
Oh, right? I love it.
Make it happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's just
That's
maybe a little
awesome.
nugget for people. So thoughts.
I love that. I've had kind of my favorite songs be my alarm, and so right now, for a while now, it's "Ordinary Love" by U2,
Huh.
and so that's what I get up to, and I will do my breath work for that entire song, which is about 3 minutes, and then look, I mean, whenever it goes off. I would absolutely be lying if I told anyone that, oh boy, I'm ready to get up every single day when I
Right.
hear that song start. That's not true at all. Some mornings I am. Some mornings I wake up a lot, a fair amount. I wake up before that goes off, and I'm waiting on it.
Right.
But a lot of mornings it's not. It's just, again, like you said, you've got to have that vision. You got to know why that's important, and it's which life would you rather live? I mean, would you rather have a little bit of pain every morning and crawl out of bed and get that thing going so that by your normal time that you're regularly running, you're feeling good, or 10 or 15 or an hour more sleep? I
Right.
mean, it's a no-brainer from my
Yeah.
standpoint.
What about the
um,
preparation the night before? What are you doing to get up at 4:49? Are you doing anything at night?
Well, again, the 10 minutes that matter. So part of what I do is on my calendar every day, and yesterday I did my power hours. So every day this week, 4:49 is written in, get up, AM ritual. And so just by writing that down, you're dramatically increasing the likelihood that you're going to
Yep.
follow through.
Yep.
And so that's really what I do. And look, I don't stay up late.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rare, rare, rare occasion that I see midnight.
Yeah.
It's rare that I see 11. I mean, 10 to 10:30.
Yep.
It was my time to go to bed, and sometimes my body says 9 or 9:30, and I listen.
Yeah.
Again, when you can. I mean, I've got 3 teenagers, and so it's
Right.
not always easy.
Yeah.
But you do what you can. But even if I've been following this for a long time. I mean, since my late 20s, I had a ritual in the morning.
Yep.
Since last July, I followed that ritual every single morning. I haven't missed a morning in over a year.
Wow.
Now, let me clarify that. That's the ritual. That's not 4:49 every single day, but the ritual of meditation
Sure.
and yoga I've been doing for over a year now without missing a day. And so I've got the fallback to where, okay, look, if we go out and it's a party and we're at home at
Right.
12 or 1 o'clock, okay, I'll get up at 6 or 6:15, 6:30, whatever the number is, and I'll have an abbreviated
Yep.
version. I think the beauty of having an abbreviated version where you can meditate for 5 minutes, you can do 5 minutes of yoga, you can
Yep.
do 2 minutes of gratitude. That daily consistency makes a
Huge.
huge difference. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but that daily consistency of doing it is really, really powerful.
Yep. I like it. So let's talk about fears. I talk about this in every show. The fears you've put in your mind over the years. So over Chuck's 25 plus years as a professional. How many fears you put up here in your mind blew up to the magnitude you put them in your mind to be?
None.
Right.
None. I mean, it doesn't happen. I mean, there's, I'm not sure who said it, but a coward dies 1,000 deaths, a hero one.
Yeah.
Why? Because the coward is always worried about dying.
Right.
And so our mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And so, that fear, as if, we're living it as if it were real. And so people are experiencing, and that's why there's so much disease today. That's why there's so much stress today, is because we're worrying all the time. And it gets back to, again, if we become what we think about, which we do, then
Right.
we've got to increase the percentage of thoughts on what we want and decrease the percentage of thoughts on what we don't want. And whenever we're worried about things, we're living and our body's reacting as if it's actually happened. It
Yeah.
just, again, it really never happens as bad as we thought it
Yeah.
was.
I love the fact that you said that now a couple times. Increase what we want, right? the thoughts we want, decrease. And it's so simple, but yet it's so profound because it's so true. If I continue to think, oh, I got to do this, 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 and this, and even that little saying of I have to versus I get to,
Yep.
I think is a big deal. It's all about how we train our mind and how we see things. So talk to us now. Go ahead.
If I can, I look at it as we've got it. How do we increase the percentage of thoughts on what we want? How do we decrease the percentage of thoughts on what we don't want? And the way that we do that is by creating these neon flashing signs. I mean, think about it. If you've got neon flashing signs that are continually popping up in your life, reminding you of what you want, it's easier to increase your percentage of thoughts on what you want. And so that's where a vision comes in. I mean, your alarm is an example of that. How can we set up ways to continually remind ourselves of what we want? Post-it notes of sayings or reminders, pictures of our family, pictures of what we want. Those are the neon flashing signs that help us increase the percentage of thoughts on what we want, thereby decreasing the percentage of thoughts on what we don't want.
So talk to us now. I mean, we can talk about success and how great we are all day long, right? But let's talk about maybe some of those moments, some of those failures that you had early on in your career and even to this day. And I'll explain real quick. I call it the bounce back theory. And I would say this is a thing about you is when you get rejection, when you get things you don't like, your ability to just turn the page is pretty darn quick, right? And that's what I call the bounce back theory. The most successful people in the world bounce back from rejection very quickly. The least successful people in the world get rejected and they may not come out of their hole for a week, a month, right? A year, a decade, right? But you've done it quickly. So, but what are those things and those habits that you had early on when you got rejection that helped you overcome them?
Man, when I was starting out, I was a college intern in the financial services industry, as you know, at Ole Miss, and had some success there, and then moved to Memphis, Tennessee. Started all over in a place that I really didn't know anyone. And as has happened to me many times in my life, I thought I was a lot better than what I was, arrogant, let's say. And so I showed up and I just thought, boy, people are going to be really excited that I'm here and they can't wait to, have me their advisor. And a few months in, I had no clients, no real prospective clients. I was almost out of my savings and I had no desire to ask mom and dad for help. And so I found myself one evening in the floor with bills spread out, and I'm having to figure out which ones I can pay and which ones I can't pay. And it was very stressful. It's the first time in my life I'd ever been in that situation. And there were a few tears that were there, and I finished crying, and I looked up, and there was a bookshelf in the room. I was staying with a buddy of mine, renting a room from him, and there was a book with an arrow on the spine, a red arrow pointing up, and said, "See you at the top, Zig Ziglar." And I thought, Zig Ziglar, what the hell kind of a name is that? And I went over and I pulled that book off and I started reading it. And Zig really had three things that changed the course of my life. And the first one was, he said, you can get anything in life you want as long as you help enough other people get what they want. And so that was a philosophy that I adopted right there. The second thing he said was, you got to get rid of stinking thinking. And, I realized, look, my thoughts, I'm taking all this rejection personally. I'm absorbing it. I'm owning it. I've got to let it go.
That's right.
So that was a game changer for me. And then the third aspect was Zig, talked about a vision, and that's when I created my first vision for my life. And so that's really, those have followed me, now for, almost 30 years, Brett. Yeah. And so regardless of what the challenge has been, it's, whenever you get back to, look, what we're here to do is to serve others. We can get anything that we want in life as long as we help enough other people get what they want. We got to get rid of stinking thinking. We always, just always expect the best and have a clear vision for what we want to do with our life.
Yep. What's old Robin Sharma say? Without clarity precedes mastery, right? So if you're going to go out and master whatever that craft is, you got to have that clear vision and everything else you just said. So that's awesome. So talk to us about, if you don't mind sharing, you've had a pretty impactful couple years, man. And, you and I, just as buddies, were on the phone the other day, and, my entire body was full of just chills and before I go any further with that, I mean, just kind of fill our listeners in on what the last couple of years for Chuck Downs has been like.
Yeah, I think I shared with you. I said that that I'd had something really profound happen to me back in April, and what had happened was a very special person in my life had reached out to me and wanted me to read an obituary that she had just written. And so I read the obituary and I told her, I said, this is phenomenal. It's perfect. And she texted me back, well, that's good, because one of my relatives said that it was too flowery and overblown. And I texted her back. I said, there's two mistakes we can make in life. The big mistake is playing life too small. The small mistake is playing life too big.
Yep.
And which mistake would you rather make?
Right.
And she said, great. And this lady, her name is Pam, and the obituary was for her 90-year-old mother. And I met Pam and her 90-year-old mother 4 years ago for the first time. And when I met her mother, she introduced us, and I just simply said, hi, I'm Chuck. And she was 86 years old, and she was in the early stages of dementia. And Pam's mother had played big 50 years ago, very big, because 50 years ago, Pam was 18, and she found out that she was pregnant. And so when they told Pam's father said, well, we're sending her to New York for an abortion. And Pam's mom stepped up and said, she's not going to New York for an abortion. She'll go stay with Aunt Bonnie in Mississippi and have the baby and put it up for adoption. And that's what happened. And so we are meeting for the first time 4 years ago. We're at a dinner table at a restaurant. And just a lot of small talk. And at one point, Pam looks at her mother and says, Mother, do you remember when I went to stay with Aunt Bonnie? And her mother looked at her and she said, yes, I remember. And she said, do you remember why I went to stay with Aunt Bonnie? And you could see the wheels turning in this 86-year-old lady's head. She goes, yes, I remember. And Pam looked over at me and pointed at me and said, Mother, this is the baby.
Ugh.
And I mean, just the look in this woman's eyes at me, just the joy was incredible. And some came at my grandmother for the first time. And it took me a while, but I finally mustered the words of, thank you for making sure that Pam went to stay with Aunt Bonnie instead of going to New York.
That's right. And
it was an incredible experience. And so the week before my grandmother passed away in April, we were actually, I actually got to see her, and that was, that I was able to tell her goodbye and say a few prayers for her. And a week later, she passed away. And it was an incredible experience. Yeah.
And so what was, thank you for sharing and being open and transparent with our listeners. And a lot of thoughts go through my mind on that. So you meet your biological mother 4 years ago, right? So yep. Talk about that, because I think, so much of our upbringing and so much of who we are is because of our parents and the things that we've got. And then now here you are basically 44, 45 years old before you met your biological mom. Is that correct?
Yep. 46. And we spoke for over a year before I actually met her. Yeah. It was, so when I hit 40, that was the point that I said, you know what, maybe I should start having annual checkups. Not a big fan of those. And so at 40, I said, you know what, let me start going to get these things done. And so I, go to the doctor, and he does the blood work, and the PSA level came back a little bit higher than what he would have expected for a 40-year-old healthy guy. And so he, part of the questions are your family health history. And I've always, since I was a kid, the answer was always, I don't know.
Oh, right.
I was adopted. And And so he said, when I said that, he said, well, you can get that information. You can contact the adoption agency and get the non-identifying birth information that will have the health history most of the time. I said, great. And a year later, I go back for a checkup, and he asked me about it. And I said, great.
Yeah. Thanks for the info, doc, but I'm not doing it.
And so the third year of seeing this guy, he says it again. And so I reached out to my dad, and I reached out. I mean, the next time we were talking, I said, hey, my doctor wants to do this. Where was the home that I was adopted from? So he told me. And so I called and left a message, and then they called me back, and then I called them back, and some time passed, and I just didn't. It wasn't that big of a deal, and finally, I guess it became a big deal because the fourth time that I saw the doctor, he kind of pushed me, and so I called and spoke to this lady at the adoption agency, and as we're talking, she asked me what my life was like. I told her how amazing it was, how blessed I was. And she just wanted to, they love hearing the story, I think, whenever they're involved in this. And she says, well, hang on a minute, let me go get your file. And so she, puts me on hold. And a couple of minutes later, she comes back and she says, well, I found it. Oh my Lord. And I said, what? And she goes, there's a letter in here from 1999, and it's notarized from your birth mother. And she says, if you ever contact looking for her, here's her number and here's her email address. And I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I mean, that's
what my dang medical history.
Yeah. So it's like, my parents are my parents. Right. And it's just, I never had any, it wasn't something I wanted or thought about. And so I got this information, and I sat on it for a long time. And a dear friend of mine, whenever she found out that I was sitting on that information, started pushing me to reach out, and that's what I did.
Amazing. And so what was that? That takes some courage, right? For you to do that, because that can change the whole trajectory of what life looks like, right? I mean, that's a big, big moment.
Look, man, you don't know what you're going to find, right? And so that fear of not knowing what I was going to find was big.
Yep.
And I'm so grateful and so thankful, because what I found was amazing and beautiful, and has just has released a lot of things in me that I'm very, very blessed for.
And that goes back to that question earlier. How many of the fears you put in your mind blow up to the magnitude you put them in your mind to be? I mean, I can't imagine the stuff you had going on upstairs, right? And none of it came true.
No, I mean, the ability to tell my grandmother thank you for making sure that I'm here. And then my father wanted to meet Pam, and Pam wanted to meet my father. My mom passed away in 2004 from acute leukemia. So she's been gone for a while, and my dad, after I met Pam, I'd love to meet her sometime. I said, yeah, I'll get right on that, and Pam wanted to meet my father, and I think, certainly I've been one of those types of people that, to show true feelings and that stuff. It wasn't easy, being open, having an open heart hasn't been easy. And so it was one of those things that I knew it would be uncomfortable, and I knew it would be a lot of emotion, and I just didn't want to experience it. Yeah. And last December, I was at a retreat, and it came to me, dude, your dad's 85 years old. Your grandmother's 90. How much longer are you going to wait to introduce these people to each other? Right. And so I set that up, and that happened the last weekend of March. So, my sister and my father and my sister's family were going to spring break about 45 minutes from where Pam and and my grandmother lived. And so I was able to make that introduction this year.
Little extra meditation that morning, maybe.
Yeah, 4:40. The alarm
it went off at
didn't
2:49 that day.
The alarm didn't go off that day. I think I was on the beach. It was in North Florida. I was on the beach before 4 a.m. that morning. Yeah, it was a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, man. That's I think
My
for
honor.
our listeners is you learn from Chuck. There's a lot of things that he's doing right now, but there's a lot of fears that he's looking at right in the eye, and he's going to make happen to continue to write his story or your story, I should say. So thanks for sharing, man. So when you think about life, if I could ask one person that you would sit down and go have dinner with, who would that person be? And tell me why.
Does it have to be someone living?
No, anybody.
I think it would be so cool to sit down with Jesus.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be your answer, so I almost took it away from you because that's a good answer. But
but I think that I probably, his teachings have been so widely used, and the ability to actually follow his teachings, are so challenging. But yet it's we're promoting him, right?
Right.
So I would love to know what he thinks of what's going on in our world today, and just his advice on how we can live a more loving and accepting and unconditionally loving life.
So another question, odd questions here, but I'm always fascinated by these. Is I give you $10 million, you can't donate it, because that's what you'd want to donate a lot of it. You can't pay off any debts that you may or may not have. You can't give it to me at Visionary Wealth Advisors to invest it. So what is Chuck Downs doing with $10 million right now?
I would go out and I would find people that are truly making the world a better place. Especially from an environmental standpoint, a providing for others, and I would want to invest in their business and give them business guidance to help them grow their businesses, to have a much more major impact on the world much sooner than they will otherwise.
I like it. Investing in others, man. A few other questions here. How is Chuck Downs staying a student of the game today? What do you, obviously you get your power hour and all those things you do, but what else do you do during your day to be that student?
Man, I am a personal development junkie. I mean, I love retreats. I love going to workshops. I love traveling. I went to Bhutan, India, and Nepal earlier in the spring. And it was just incredible being at these Buddhist monasteries and the ashrams in India. I mean, it was just an incredible experience, and to hear these people and the wisdom that they've passed down for thousands of years has been incredible. I'm a big fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I mean, the work that he's doing is just mind blowing. I mean, people are having healings, people being cured from cancer and heart disease and all kinds of ailments, blindness, and the science behind it is incredible. I mean, it's so much of what we've heard for years, but he's been able to take that and show the science behind of why it works. So I did an 8-day retreat with him in December. So just a lot of workshops, a lot of seminars. Just always looking for the next thing that I can participate in.
And I think it's important too, is that investing in yourself, right? So many people hear, oh, it's nice, you're traveling, you're doing this, you're going to workshops, but that stuff's not free, right? And to do that is investing in yourself.
Yeah. And that's where the growth comes from, right? I mean, you got to invest in yourself and the continual learning. I mean, what we thought was real 10 years ago, we look at today. I mean, from a health standpoint, as an example, right, we're light years ahead.
That's right. So where do our listeners find more of Chuck Downs, man? Where can we learn more about your stuff and what you're putting out every day?
Man, I've got a website. It's downsconsulting.com. You can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook at Chuck Downs Jr. Those are the 3 best places.
I like it, man. You're putting out some great stuff, a lot of great videos for our listeners. But Chuck, man, it was awesome. Just knowing I woke up
Thanks,
today,
brother.
obviously knowing you're here today, I was excited, man. Just get to spend some time with you. And I got a funny story. I think you'll remember this. So I go to Key Biscayne a few times with the family, and that's where Chuck lives on an island. You know what story I'm going to tell?
I'm guessing.
Yeah. So Chuck's got a golf cart, and Chuck is very nice, a good friend. He says, you know what, Brett, here's the keys. Take the golf cart for the week. So, my kids think it's the coolest thing ever. We're driving around an island to dinner every day and lunch and all this stuff. And one night what is it? Archie's? Is that the name of the pizza joint?
Archie's Pizza. Yeah.
Archie's Pizza in Key Biscayne. If you ever go to Key Biscayne, check it out.
No longer there.
Pizza. What's that?
It's no longer in business.
Archie's is gone. Poor Archie. Well, that's all right. Anyway, so we go into this Archie's Pizza, and we come outside, and golf cart's gone. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, I am looking everywhere, right, for this golf cart, and golf cart's gone. So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, now I got to call my buddy, and I got to tell him his golf cart has been stolen. So I go around, and then I think finally Chuck maybe called me or something, and he was standing across on a stairwell watching me walk around the parking lot looking for this golf cart that he had the spare keys to and went and moved it. So, hey, that's always something a good friend would do to you, man.
Little practical joke shows a lot of love and compassion.
Exactly. So very good memory of our from my family. We talk about that pretty regularly. So, well, brother, it's always good to see you, my man. And thanks for being with me on the Circuit of Success.
Thanks for the opportunity to share, brother. I appreciate it.